Well, good morning, folks. Yeah, on the backhoe. Remember my return to dig arm adjustment arm was bent, and so I bent it back. Everything seemed to work okay after I did that. It was a little bit slow to level the bucket out, but I'm not really sure what was going on. Well, anyway, I started messing with the backhoe a little bit more aggressively, and turns out when you put the bucket up real fast and have it all the way tilted back, that it puts that arm in a bind, and it bent it again. So apparently there's some sort of a problem, and so I've kind of started taking this apart a little bit to kind of look at the linkages to see whether there's an adjustment or whether there's something wrong with the loader spooler, which incorporates all the leveling and the return to dig functions. And so anyway, we're going to be working on that today. After I fix the arm, I'm going to weld a new threaded rod onto the end of that so it works again, and I'm just going to adjust it so it can't possibly bend even if it's all the way up and all the way tilted back. And then we're going to try to deal with what the adjustments are, or maybe take this spooler off of here and figure out what's going on with it. I have a buddy coming later today who has worked on heavy equipment, and he might be able to shed some light onto this problem. So anyway, if you look right now, this is where the return to dig and self-leveling bar would attach. It came around and then hooked down to that hole there on the loader, and so it's supposed to be all mathematically worked out to kind of not change anything when it the bucket goes up and down, but only affects the tilt of the bucket. Anyway, so then the way this works is this pretty much freewheels whenever it's going up and down, and everything's good. When it's lined up with that red mark there, it's supposed to be a level bucket for digging when you're on the ground. And this comes down and it hits this this bar that runs down here to another mechanism that comes in and messes with this spooler for the loader. And you can see a bunch of takeoffs onto that. You know, I'm wondering whether this has the auxiliary on it too, because there's a couple extra capped off ports here, it looks like. Anyway, this comes down and hold on, let me set you down here. This bar right here, when this comes around, it hits this thing here, hits this bar, and it forces this down, actually like that, which then actually reverses the tilt back and forces it to go tilt forward until this is not pushing on this anymore, and then it just goes back to neutral by itself. And the trouble with this is, you would think that this would have a little bit more play than just this last little. All this has is that much play, like an inch. And then if this hits and that's all the way down, then something's got to give, and that ends up bending the bar. So I'm not strong enough to do this one-handed. There you go. You can see that hold off down there and spring. That, when I push that down, that forces the lever, the loader lever inside the cab to tilt back or tilt forward, so it doesn't like dump its load onto the hood of the backhoe. So anyway, I have got to figure out how to make that start doing something a little bit earlier. I don't know if something's broken in there or what. You can see the operation of that in there. So, and otherwise the loader works. And otherwise the loader seems to work properly. You know, when you're using it from inside, everything on the lever seems like it's adjusted correctly. So it's just something to do with this self leveler on here, and we're gonna figure it out. You and me together. There's a dearth of backhoe videos, since I guess not a lot of people have big equipment like this for this type of thing. So maybe this will be the one that everybody has to come watch. Well, so as you can see, a little close here, but this is the end of this self-leveler rod that goes all the way to the bucket, and it's a solid piece of steel. It's heavy, and this was threaded. This was stretched out and then threaded down for about 2 inches of thread on the end of this. And since I've broken it off, I've decided I've got a bolt, and I'm going to weld thread back onto it. I tried to bend it back the first time, and it worked, you know, with heat and everything. But this time, after messing with it a little bit, trying to figure it out, it ended up breaking off. So, time to weld on a new straight piece of threaded material. This is what came off of it. Nice and bent, unfortunately. And this is the bolt that I cut the end off, and I'm going to weld onto there. And it is a little bit long, so I'm going to have to cut some of this off. I don't want it to be too long because it will I'll run out of adjustment. Okay, so I got this piece. I straightened it, and I'm going to kind of sit it up here and take a little measure of how long this should be when I'm done. And it looks like about 2 inches, honestly, from the end to the, should be about 2 inches exactly. So this dude here is 2.5 inches, so I need to cut off looks like quite a bit. 3/4 of an inch almost, 5/8 of an inch. So we're going to do that with the Sawzall, because I should have done that to begin with the right tool, but I didn't. So let's put a couple nuts on here so I don't booger up the threads when I'm holding it in the vise, and see what we can do with the Sawzall. Cut it off nice, hopefully nice and flat. I have a cutoff saw, but it's not good for this small of this short of a piece. So unfortunately, I have a lack of metalworking tools in this garage. So there we go. Okay, so that's tight. I guess we'll clamp this bad boy in here as level as we can, and we'll get the Sawzall. Very far from precision work, unfortunately. Tighten her up. Let's try again. Come on, hold on. Holding these two up together. Looks like we're pretty darn close to what we needed. So now we're going to grind this down to a point so we have a little more welding room, and we're going to weld on this bad boy. Okay, I've got this, I tried my welder's magnet, but it was too big to get on there. This looks pretty good. This is a magnet out of a hard drive that I pulled out. These are like the super duper magnets. and it looks like it's holding it. So I'm going to get my MIG welder and I'm going to do a few tack welds around here just to get it held in place, and then we'll go to town on it. So, all right, we're going to put a couple tack welds on here to hold this in place, and then we're going to turn the power up and go to town on this thing. Hopefully won't mess it up. I'm no expert welder. This is my MIG welder. My glasses to be in the right position. That's not high enough power. It's just going up to full power. We're just plastering. Okay. That should hold it. Now let's see what we can do. Man, I'm having to look through the bottom of my glasses to see what the hell I'm doing for this sort of thing. Shit. It's funny, this old Chicago electric helmet with no battery still works after years, and my super cool Clark helmet with batteries in it, I can't get to do crap. So I guess you get what you pay for. Neither one of them was so crazy expensive. All right, so I think we're going to tap down this thing. Let's let it cool off for a minute. We're going to tap down this thing, and then put a bolt down here and try to grind on this, and we'll take a look at it and see if I welded any good. Boy, it's a mess. So I guess I'm a better, as they say, I'm a better grinder than I am a welder. So, haha. side. Come on, dude. Hopefully this will hold for what I'm doing. If not, I can always do it again. Maybe hire somebody that knows what they're doing to weld it for me. I'm sure that didn't penetrate all the way through, although it was turned up pretty high. Next, I put some threads on these welds, on the weld a little bit. Get it so I can thread it as far as possible, because I'm not really sure exactly how far I'll need to go. But I think I need to thread it in pretty far so it doesn't bend until I can figure out why that interference is occurring. Anyway, well, I needed some yellow paint now. I think we're good. Look at that. Paint that yellow and no one will be the wiser. Well, maybe, unless they look at it close. So while it's on the ground, we'll get this guy in this hole. Okay. Pin is in that. Let it come out of there. There is no way that this can be all the way up here without bending the crap out of that bar. This is as far down as it goes, and no wonder that bent the crap out of it, because the bucket has to tilt the other way before for it to have clearance. So I think I moved it up just a little bit too fast, and the bucket didn't move to level fast enough, which is interesting. Alright, so now when we pick it up, if we do it slow enough, the bucket tilts and it's perfectly level. This is actually set the way it should be. If you move it up too fast, yeah, it won't let me curl it up anymore. So I have to dump. Okay, so I've been thinking about this, and it looks like this bar here needs to be a little longer, because when it goes all the way down, there's still a little bit of lever left. You can see this lever left on the inside, and this would make the bucket roll forward faster. So I think if this is longer, it will actuate the roll forward lever a little bit more quickly, and it won't bind up the other way either, I think. So I'm going to give that a shot and see whether or not that solves my problem. Unfortunately, the only way to really know is to run this thing up real fast and make it bend again, and I really don't want to do that. So yikes. I wish there was a failure-proof way to test this. Anyway. Okay, so I made a little adjustment on it. I don't think I did it the right way, but let's see if that helps the situation. Well, you know, it's pretty straight actually. It just starts rolling back a little bit sooner. I think we'll leave it like that for now, and hopefully just keep an eye on it. Alright, so that's what that's supposed to look like, except for if it had a good weld on it. And I lengthened this bar here a little bit because it was hitting the stops before it was giving a complete a push forward on the bucket, and possibly if it could push with more hydraulics on the bucket, it would move it faster and keep it from binding up. But what was happening is when this would come forward, this would bottom out in its on its stop right here before it would give it a full bucket forward, so it had more motion. So I just gave it about 1/4 of an inch more on that. I think you can just undo both these lock bolts, and one's reverse thread, so you can just like a link turn the rod and it should lengthen or shorten, but I didn't do that because I couldn't get the bolt loose on the bottom. So I just did the top one a little bit, gave it about 1/4 inch, and well, I mean, the one way to find out is to take a chance of bending the bar again, and I'd hate to do that, so I'll probably never know whether I fixed it. But I think giving it a more a dump bucket, giving it more room to dump, should make it move faster. It also started moving it level a little bit sooner, and I still think it's okay when it's all the way up. When it's level, it's still a pretty good level bucket. So I think we're good. So, until the next video. See you later.